Hi, good morning, afternoon. So yeah, Adam asked me to just chat a little bit about mobile money and what we've been doing and how our thinking around it has changed. So it's not around mobile money like M-Pesa and that sort of thing. It's actually about how we've changed what we're doing and how we're seeing results in terms of advertising revenue coming in. So hopefully it's helpful to you guys. Please at any point just stop me and ask questions. I'm going to run through this quite quickly, so if you have questions at the end as well, please just shout. So just to kind of put it all in context, sorry it's very light, but so mobile has become the #1 mass media in South Africa. I mean, everyone has a mobile phone. For a lot of people it's their only source of entertainment and literally do everything on it. It's something that we always have with us, so if you're trying to talk to an audience, to your readers, it's a very good way to get hold of them. I mean, it's with you all the time. This is just a graph to show you the red dotted line is mobile and how that's just increasing and increasing. So, you know, radio and TV are still there, but in terms of mobile penetration, if you want to reach the biggest audience, it's definitely mobile. That little purple dot is smartphones. We've just started tracking that, so you can kind of see where that fits in, but that's also going to rise very sharply. I've got a few more slides around that, but just interesting to take note of how that's going. So from that research that was done, you know, they kind of extrapolated it further. 50%, that was sort of mobile penetration in South Africa in 2011. Or smartphone, sorry. That grew to 23%, 38% last year. They're expecting it to be around 45% at the end of this year. What that means though is that for media people, smartphones obviously a much better way to give your audience a much richer experience. You can do a lot more in terms of advertising as well, from not just your small little ads. You can have ads that expand, do all sort of creative things. So you know, as people move more and more to smartphones, that's sort of opportunities for us open up. The other thing that also people get confused about or ask a lot is the difference between a smartphone and a just like a normal ordinary dumb phone or a feature phone. It's kind of being, the lines are sort of blurred. The Nokia Asha range, which is sort of a low-end phone, you can still get the internet, you can do everything you normally would do. Probably just doesn't have a very good camera, but you know, it's kind of getting to the point where it doesn't really matter what phone you have, you can consume our content, which is the important part. Then this is a very interesting slide. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but in terms of Media 24 magazines, how the audience has switched to mobile. So just last year you had 64% on PC. January this year it's 60% on mobile. So we've seen that move with some of the brands like Kickoff, Basil. You know, that changed last year, probably towards the middle of end of last year, where there's a much bigger mobile audience. But that is again just going to continue to grow. I don't see the PC stuff dropping off completely, but you know, mobile will just keep going up and up. And then when we look at the type of handsets, so you know, that's the other thing people are always asking, should we do apps, should we do Mobi sites, should we do responsive sites? You've got to kind of look at your brand and your readers and see what they visiting your site on. And across all the magazines, these are by far the most popular phones. So the BlackBerry Curve still by far the most popular across any of them. iPhone is up there. Samsung, the whole Galaxy range is very popular. The weird little Samsung Metro Dios, that's high up there, and then the Nokia Asha range, which I mentioned, across all the brands. So, I mean, that'll probably also change over time. It always does. But you know, BlackBerry, it's a very South African thing. It's huge on all our sites. So if you do a Mobi site or you do a Mobi campaign, be sure to test it on a BlackBerry, because chances are at least 40 to 50% of the people who are looking at it will be on a BlackBerry. So what does it all mean? Like the fact that people are on these different phones and going to our sites on Mobi phones, on mobile phones, sorry. It's very important that you make mobile part of your strategy. If you want to kind of connect to that always connected consumer, as I said, mobile is a brilliant opportunity to do it, and I'll take you through some examples of how we can do that. Extend your advertising strategies to include mobile. So often it's always print does their thing, digital does their thing, and it's often always around web, and then there's something maybe for mobile. It needs to be included altogether. And then coming back to having a mobile optimized site, and it goes further than that. So it's not just the site, it's making sure that things like your newsletters can be read on your phone. I'm sure a lot of you here read your mail on your phone, and people's time's precious. People are also very fickle. They move on from one thing to the next. So the minute that newsletter opens up, if you're not going to read it properly on your phone, you're just going to either delete it or move on. So across a lot of the brands, we've started making the weekly newsletters responsive so it fits on your phone. We've also changed the amount of content that goes out, so it's much shorter, it's much punchier, nicer graphics, engaging headlines that'll get people to click on it. And then what we're doing as well is thinking mobile first. Clearly the audience is there, so everything we do, we'll make sure it works on mobile first, and then see how it works on PC, not the other way around. So just an interesting mindset in when you approach campaigns. So very long heading, but what we're basically doing now and how we're thinking to make and how it's making a difference. So analytics, that's by far one of the most important things, to see what your readers are doing, how they're coming to your site, what they're consuming, how long they're there, what type of handsets they're on. It's the most important tool that we have, and I'd encourage everyone to play around with it, from Effective Measure to Google Analytics. It's not difficult to get set up. It's very intuitive. You can kind of play around. You can't break anything. You're just getting data and looking at it. But that tells us everything we need to know. So when it comes to planning a campaign, you always have to look at the analytics. When the campaign runs as well, to go back to the analytics and see how it's worked, to tweak it. That's the nice thing about digital. You can always, halfway through, make some changes. And then, as I said, understanding the audience, so the analytics help a lot, but also, looking at the sites that you work on, reading the comments, seeing what people are saying, understanding the tone, what they like. All of that sort of helps in how you craft your campaigns, or, what you can suggest that you can do with advertisers. And then working very closely with the sales teams and editorial. So in the past, things have been done where editorial wasn't involved. They're a sensitive bunch. I don't know, sorry if I don't mean to offend editorial people, but obviously you guys craft your articles. It's a personal thing. You don't want things messed up. So it's important that the digital people speak with the editorial people and the sales people. So when it comes to doing campaigns, that things don't just get sold off, that your article ends up looking like an advert, and it's just to keep that relationship open and discussing and seeing how you can change things to work for your campaigns, because more and more advertisers are wanting things that are engaging, that are informative. Content marketing is like another big buzzword that's flying around. And a lot of the times editorial content will be taken and made to look like an advert, which obviously never works or never goes down very well with the editorial side of things. There is a way to make it work for both, but as I said, it just comes down to communication and making sure everyone's on the same page. And then helping the sales team understand what's possible. So a while back, someone said to me a salesperson said, they don't mention mobile or digital when they go to an agency because they're afraid they might get asked a question they don't know how to answer, which was quite scary, because they need to know. And I know the agencies can be very intimidating. A lot of those people like to kind of make themselves look very important, and they throw a lot of jargon around. But basically what we're trying to do is offer a space where they can run their campaigns and it works for both of us. So what I've done with the sales teams is I've worked closely with a lot of them, try to figure out what it is they don't understand. Obviously there's no stupid questions, it's just that's how you learn, you know. So mobile is a difficult one because most of them came from print, started having to sell on digital, mainly web, and then mobile got thrown into that. So it kind of, the technology changes so quickly, you know, so I think for them, they struggle to do their job but keep up with all this other info as well. So what we've put in place are some tools that will assist, but also when it comes to a campaign, to always, as much as possible, be there with them, help them through it until they pick up all of this jargon and feel comfortable going to an agency. So one of the things we put together, we call it our mobile toolbox. And I'll just go through it quickly, but basically what it does is it's a simple wireframe that just shows them very easily what's available across the site. So that's where your banner will go, that's what a sponsored content block will be. Obviously it changes for the different sites, but it kind of makes it visual, and it helps also the agencies understand, because a lot of the agencies or the advertisers don't actually know what you can do on mobile. So even though they come across very all-knowing and quite intimidating, a lot of the times they don't know. So this also just helps the advertisers understand what they're going to get for their money. So, you know, like a product listing page, how it will fit there, clicking through to product details, video, what you can do there, a competition, you know, it's all about engagement. They want engagement, how they can get people to stay on the site for longer or get info from them. Polls are also very popular and something that we sponsor. Survey page as well. All of these can be very short but tied to content, tied to a campaign message, and entertain the reader as well. Give them something to stay on your site and reward them with a competition of some sort. So then these are just some of the examples that we've done. This was for Nedbank for vehicle finance. So instead of just having a banner, the message changed because it was for finance in general, depending on the site you're on. So if it was on something like a more family-related site, you could have something, do you need to save for your child's education? Here it was, do you need car finance? It would click through to a page still on the site where they could fill in their details and a broker would phone them back. Again, I mean, this is not the case, but with a lot of advertisers, they don't have a mobile space, so they don't have a mobile site. So that kind of, they immediately think, well, then it's pointless advertising on mobile. What we've done in the past for Pirelli was one, they didn't have a local mobile site, but they wanted to run a competition because the entries via mobile are great. I mean, people enter very quickly on a mobile. So we set up a site for them. We started the campaign, ran the banner ads, it clicked through to pages which we skinned to look like a Pirelli site. It was very simple, but it worked for them. Otherwise we would have lost that money. So there's always a way to make a plan to get it to work. This was something for Baba and Cleata, for Turbo Kids, and it went from a normal banner ad, it clicked through to some content marketing. So it was articles about what it can do for you, what it can do for your child. It went through to a product listing page, all the various products around that, and then it went through to a competition where you could win a hamper. So again, you know, kind of leading the audience through, rewarding them with the potential of winning a prize at the end. This was for Accelerator. It's a brand of cooking oil. This was a section on Move magazine's mobile site, so they wanted to sponsor the food section. We dropped a banner in there, just in that little section on the homepage. Then that clicked through to recipes, and they also were thinking of, might still happen, have a section where people can send through their cooking tips and then obviously win a prize, but it was all recipes around using their product. For TV Plus, MediHelp, they wanted to do something, again, generate leads, drive leads. So we gave them a permanent space on TV Plus. And they have content that they update in there all the time. So it's almost like giving them a content block. that clicks through to their article and whatever it is, and it's product related, but it's also lifestyle related. And then from there you can click and get a quote. But you fill in your name, your number, you can ask a question if you want, hit submit, and someone calls you back. So something like that really appealed to them. They took a sponsorship for the whole year. So, I mean, that was fantastic for TV Plus. But what we're going to do going forward is not just to go, great, we've got it and leave it, to check your analytics, see if people are clicking through, if they are, sending through leads, and if not, to see how we can tweak it. Often the advertiser will send you content that's not going to work. So you go back and you advise them, tweak it like this, do it like that. This is what's going to work for the audience, because you know the readers best. And generally they're happy to try, and if they do try and it changes and it works better, then you've built that very close relationship where they now trust you and will do more. So this was IQ Academy. They do learning courses. So there we just had a simple banner click through to their info about their courses. We also gave them a section on some of the sites. On the one it was brain course, so it started off with brain teasers, a couple of other things, but the average click-through rate on mobile banners is about 0.4%. So across Move, Drum and Co we got 0.9. Move Mag at 1.12, which is phenomenal. I mean, that's really, really good. Obviously the client's very happy with that, and we're looking at doing more and how we can take it further. Another very successful one was a PEP back to school campaign. So we had a banner again clicking through to specials, and these specials were basically what they put in those printed inserts that you'll get in the mags or that end up in your postbox. So we took that content and created a content listing page. These are just the mock-ups, but we had all your back-to-school special offers, and that clicked through to a full page. Worked really, really well with a 2.8 click-through, which was, amazing. Because of that, they're planning to do so much more with us across a whole bunch of sites. They've just realized that works. They've followed our advice to some degree, where we've guided them in what's going to work, what we thought would work, and it has. So that's kind of opened it up for a whole range of things, not just their back to school range. There's a bunch of other things we're busy with. So again, it's that relationship and making sure the salespeople through the whole process understand it and feeding back to the client regularly. Then lastly, just where I think there's a big opportunity is around games, because all the advertisers, all the sponsors, they want engagement. That's their big thing. It's like the buzzword at the moment is engagement. They want people to have their brand in their face, to interact with their brand, do something with their brand, obviously get their contact details so they can market to them later. And that's why we often have competitions where you'll fill in all your details. There'll be a little tick box. Do you want to opt in for more marketing messages from the brand? Often people do. And that's very valuable to the advertiser, because now they can start contacting them directly. These are just two examples of games that were built for kickoff. A predictor game where you basically go in every week and you just set, you predict scores for various matches that are happening in different leagues. Sponsored by Pepsel. Also getting a very, very good click-through on that, but that allows them to have this audience that's coming back every week, checking their scores, predicting again. They're challenging each other the whole time. The Pep branding's there, Pepsel. There's opportunities for them to now start pushing specials to the people using this game. And then the Kickoff Fantasy League, another amazing game where you can manage your own soccer team in the PSL, and it runs for the whole season. Castle Lager, I think they've taken it for 4 years. Okay, even better. So, I mean, they understand how valuable this sort of property is and having that engaged audience. So, that sort of thing, and it doesn't have to be as complicated as these. I think there's a lot of things we can do, and we constantly doing proposals to people around making it more fun, entertaining, and engaging. And as soon as you have something where people can either win something, have their names up in lights on a leaderboard so they can brag about it. They start sharing it on Facebook, which adds to the virality. You get people coming back to your site and growing traffic. And then just in terms of that, one thing sorry, I forgot to mention further back, a lot of our traffic, when you're looking at the analytics, is coming from Facebook, but mobile Facebook. Some of the brands, up to 50% of our referral traffic comes from mobile Facebook. So it's people reading an article, sharing the link, obviously looking at the posts that the editors put up. So, when it comes to growing your mobile audience, Facebook is key. It really does make a difference in terms of getting people to your brand. But it's, in a way, it's also a double-edged sword, because if people don't like it, they're going to say it in a very public space. So you need to manage that as well. But even if it is something negative, you can always turn it around in that public space, which again works in your favor, because it looks like you're doing something positive. You engage with the audience as well. So all of this combined is kind of what we putting across to the advertisers. And I think it comes down to making sure you have a good relationship from the digital side with the publishers and the editors, helping the salespeople understand what's possible, and being with them along the way, answering questions, making sure they feel confident going into meetings, helping with presentations, and then once you start doing that, you'll see the rewards. So that's it in a nutshell.
So I want to say something in terms of the whole sponsored gaming environment.
Yeah.
What we found with Kickoff is that the more your reason, your incentive to your audience is relevant to that audience, the more people is going to come back. With Predictor, for example, we are 10 weeks left of the PSL season, and we're simply giving 1,000 rands worth of airtime on any network every week.
Yeah.
And you would think that with 10 weeks left in the season, people wouldn't be interested in playing, because there's no way you're going to be number one at the end of the season. There's no ways that you start playing now that you're even going to catch up with the leaders. Yet we're growing with about 200 to 300 new players every week. So simply because the guys know that there's no chance in hell that they could win the Predictor League, but the guy could just get the most correct predictions for that week, and 1,000 rands worth of airtime on your chosen network goes a very long way for our particular market. So we've learned the hard way from past experiences that with things like these, if your incentive isn't relevant to your audience, and if it's not easy for them, what other thing that we did with Predictor is to get the Fantasy League guys to play Predictor. We simply build in something at the back end, I think we call it an API or whatever it's called, that by simply we send a message to everybody that plays Fantasy and says to them, do you want to play Predictor? And they simply click on the button, and automatically the same profile, everything gets pulled into the new game, and then they can play. So the easier you make it for your audience on mobile, and the more relevant your incentive for people engaging you on mobile is, the more people you're going to get is going to come back to your game. And that's just what we've learned from Kickoff in a short space of time.
Yeah, the prize, thanks Basil, you should have been here. The prize is definitely, airtime by far is the most popular prize. And it's basically revenue. It's money. People do all sorts of things with it. So again, when it comes to advising advertisers and sponsors, making sure that prize or the competition is relevant to your audience, if you want to make sure you get a good return. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully that helped in some way.
Sorry,
Yeah.
If I may, one question. You talk about working closely with the sales teams. Is that specifically for digital sales teams, or do you work at all with the print sales teams in terms of bundling packages?
No, definitely. So yeah, absolutely. So as I said, in the past it's often been where print will do their thing and then something else will happen on digital. But those sort of big 360 campaigns, what they call them, are quite hard to kind of tie down. And but there's always a way to make it work. Even if it's there is just some sort of element from the print that leads to digital, or vice versa. But as I said, it's just to try and make sure everyone works together. The more you work together, the better it's going to work. Yeah. Yeah.
Does the expenditure match the revenue, that the amount of money you guys are getting in versus the spend on all these additional gamification?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Somehow it seems like you're piggybacking off your social media platforms as well.
No, not so much. So basically, with those two in particular, we only built it once we found a sponsor. So we understood what we wanted to do. We made mock-ups. We had a very good presentation, and then took it around. So we never incurred that cost. And I think that's also an important thing to do. Don't go and develop this massive thing if you're not sure you're going to sell it. So we got kind of people very interested, then took it to the next step. So yeah, but then the nice thing with those games are, we can reskin it now for other brands, and we've made it back what we've spent. So from here on, it's pure profit, and they're easy to change. So you could have the Predictor game for, it doesn't have to be for soccer; it could be for something else.
And tell me, what advice would you have for some young person watching this video who maybe would like to know how they can build their own Mobi site to make money from mobile?
Well, I think if you're not part of a brand or not known, or I think the only way there is you need something to go viral. You need to get noticed. So that comes back to social media. But yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, sorry.
So how are you addressing issues with regards to premium placements? Obviously you've got exclusive content on particular platforms.
Yeah.
But obviously when it comes to the networks or Google buys, obviously you can go across, you can target a very specific audience.
Yeah.
Guaranteed platforms.
So you're talking about an advertiser putting Google ads on our. Generally, we won't do that, because then, the CPM rate's very low. You're going to kind of, you'll sell out. You'll have banner ads running on your site, but they probably won't be that relevant to your audience. So the advertiser's not going to get such a good click through. And I think long term you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. I think it's better to, and also that pure display ads. You're never going to make a fortune out of it. It always comes down to sponsorship and giving more than just a banner ad. That's why with like with Accelerator, instead of just having a banner ad clicking through to them, we gave them, they sponsored the food section. So trying to kind of bring their brand into the content so that it's relevant. That works much better.
Yeah.
And it also upsets the editorial people when you go with the network buys to a large degree, because what you find is that a site like Kickoff, you'll find a Sanlam campaign running, that you think Sanlam Kickoff is relevant, but then you look at the creative and he talks about pink high heels. Now you've got a site that's 97% black males, and your creative talks about pink high heels. The audience doesn't like it. Your editorial people sees it, and they go like, "What the hell is this?"
So my question is more around from a sales point of view. You guys obviously got a lot of premium content.
Yeah.
So now when your salesperson is sitting in front of a media planner, they know that they can get a very defined audience with your content.
Correct.
They can also get that audience through a network buy. So not you guys tapping into networks, but you guys positioning your property versus network buy.
No, sure, yeah, but that's why I think it comes back down to offering more. Instead of just a display ad for them, you're giving them a space around your content, or making it more engaging, where it's not just a banner ad and they click off. You're taking them to a competition, or giving them info that's more relevant to them, or getting them to take a poll or survey and then rewarding them. So I definitely think and the advertisers are very open to that. For them that works better than just that sort of shotgun approach. So yeah.
I just have a question in regards to the actually knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Because it's a hurdle that I've come across.
Okay.
In terms of your demographic information of the mobile user,
Yes.
how do you obtain that? Because
Yeah,
obviously
so
it's not the same as the person would read the magazine
No,
or go
sure.
on the website.
Yeah.
And the ages are normally different. How do you
Yeah.
become that?
So, that's a difficult one, because on Google Analytics you're not going to get that sort of info. Effective Measure, they've got that survey that runs, but then there's a very particular type of person who'll do a survey, and it's not necessary.
That's only online.
Yeah. So they're going to have a mobile one soon, but even then, I think it also again comes back down to what you do with your campaign. So like if you're getting people to like the kickoff ones, we can start asking them, what's your age, where do you live, and reward them with maybe bonus points, or you can build it in somewhere where you can start mining that info from people. Even with competitions, you can kind of start asking them 1 or 2 extra questions. It is a process, but I think again, the editors should have a feel. Also the online editors who are talking to these people all the time, they can look at, from Facebook you can kind of get some more info, just engaging with the audience, seeing what sort of content works best. You can kind of get an idea, but it is a difficult one,
Currently, like you mentioned, the shotgun approach, which is more blanket advertising.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of personalized ads because
Yeah.
they're a lot more effective.
Yeah.
But from the looks of things, using it for the blanket approach seems to be easier to sell. Is there any tips on how you can sell the more personalized content? Because especially on our mobile apps, we can pull things like location, the time of day
Yeah.
on, the type of tags
Yeah.
you're reading.
Yeah.
So you can get a lot of input from it, but instead we sell just one ad across the entire platform.
Yeah.
Are there ways to ideas on how to sell better?
I think it also comes down to the advertiser and convincing them, showing them that you can give them more. It's kind of like a case by case, and depends also by the brand. Some brands, like a kickoff where the guys are very engaged, we actually know a lot more about them and their habits and what would work, and where some of the others, they don't comment as much, they're not as active on Facebook, which makes it a bit more difficult to go to an advertiser and say, we should do this or this, because we know it's going to work. So, you said it's an app, or what is it?
We do everything. So mobile web apps as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Apps you can obviously pull a lot more.
Yeah.
But with you can at least pull a product from where somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like if I was looking at that, the one you had, the car mag,
Yeah.
vehicle finance,
Yeah.
and it was a Range Rover.
Yeah.
So I would rather pull the nearest Range Rover dealer.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
To the person's location.
Yeah. Sure.
So how do you sell that?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So I think it's finding the right sponsor. It's taking that sort of idea, putting a plan together around it, and then you will find somebody that would be keen. Because that sort of approach, you're going to get a better click-through rate than just that throwing it out there. It takes a bit of time, but and like with clicks, we tried a few things, found something that really worked. Now they really trust us. Pep as well, sorry, they also want to do a lot more with us, so it's just to get yeah.
Feeding those ideas through the system. It's also about feeding those ideas through the system.
Yeah.
To your front line, so when they're sitting in front of clients, they can speak the language, they can recommend. There's nothing creators like better than a good idea. So it's a really, really powerful tool. So speaking out to them, chatting to some fun guys and putting it out there that they can wrap it in packages and put it out to clients. So
Yeah, it comes back to everyone just talking to each other and making sure they know what's going on. So. Okay. Is that it? Thanks, guys.